let me check this list. Oh man, I meet A, B, C, D, E, and there's even F, G, H, I, J, K, Q, P, X on here that I meet.
No chains, no rules, no safe words. This is Unbounded with Christopher Allen.
Welcome to the Unbounded podcast. This is a podcast with no chains, no rules, and no safe words. I'm your host, Christopher Allen, and happy Monday to you, and also to you. This episode, of course, as always, sponsored by J. Johnson Value Auto Care. Link in the description, and Drinking Days Custom Homebrewed Booze. Link also in the description. Today, now, if you guys will remember a few weeks ago, rewind your minds, if I can say that, back to a few weeks ago when we talked about the friend zone. Is it real? Is it fake? Oh my goodness. You guys hit me with a whole lot of stuff, and it spawned a subtopic, which is what we're going to talk about today. That topic. So I put my shield on to defend myself. That topic is, do men, let me just preface this, because one of the biggest things that I heard from that friend zone thing is men are not entitled to our bodies. You're not entitled to sex with us. You entitled. So I was like, okay, let's put it out there. So I put it out on Facebook for you to comment and let me know how you feel. Sound off as loud as you can. Do men truly, and The Rock does mean truly, feel entitled to sex? I put it out there, and as always, you guys delivered, and I could not be more appreciative. So let's get into this. The way that I phrased it was, do men truly feel entitled to sex? I know how I personally feel, and we're going to talk about that. That's why we're all here, gathered around the campfire on this cold November day. Depending on where you're listening, that is, or watching. I know how I feel about it, but I wanted men and women alike, both sexes, to tell me their stories. So, KD says, it depends on the man. I think men who are inexperienced seem to think that. So, I like the word inexperienced because I think that goes along with how this mentality festers in our society. It's an experience. These people don't fucking know any better. They don't realize how they look, you know, when they're spouting this stuff off. And I'm gonna save that. But yeah, inexperienced, great word to use. Megan says that she thinks this is too broad, but in a lot of cases, yes, absolutely. A lot of men feel that if they are doing anything for a woman, especially financially, that sex is part of the deal. What comes to mind when I read that comment is, let's say it's a bar scene. Got a pretty girl at the bar, chilling, minding her business, standing there alone. Guy comes up to her and is like, hey baby, you know, let me buy you a drink. Maybe not as cheesy as that, hopefully not. And so she agrees to let him buy her a drink. Because he bought her a drink, he now feels that, well, you could at least dance with me or talk to me or, you know, give me some pussy. Like, no, that's, and I'm gonna talk about why those guys piss me off more than anything. Steven says, in response to Megan's comment, so you're saying that you lead guys on so that they'll buy you stuff or help with your bills, then you act offended and surprised when they think that might mean there's something more than friendship between the two of you. I thought we were friends. I thought you were just being nice. I didn't know you thought there was something between us more than friendship. Sorry, babe, we're not that nice. Now, hi, Steven. Nice to meet you. I'm Chris. You are who, oh, God. You know what really grinds my gears, Steven? Shit like that. I feel like that kind of thinking is outdated. In 2019, 2019, Chris, ain't really about that life. I think I see where you're coming from, but it just hits in a weird way. I mean, you're saying you lead guys on so that they'll buy you stuff. Okay, sure. There are some girls out there that do that. That will use a guy for a free meal or a gift or some money or whatever. And you gotta be wary of those people, ladies. But it's kind of like on both sides. How not all men are the dirty down, low down dogs who feel entitled to sex with a girl that they bought a drink for, did something nice for. Just like not all girls use men for money or whatever. Shannon says, and I really like this comment, Shannon says, it is a broad question. You can narrow it down by giving a more specific situation. For example, if a man or woman takes someone out to dinner to get to know them, do they automatically assume that if the date goes well that they'll end up having sex? Another example, if two people are friends and one of them does something for the other, this could be anything, helping them move into a new place, dog sitting, spot them a few bucks if they're struggling, buy them ice cream. Does that now change the nature of the friendship? Has the one doing the favor assigned some sort of physical, or sexual in this case, value to the action that could then be perceived as the other person owing something? Would the same rules apply if it were two friends of the same sex, or one gay, one straight, where there wouldn't be an expectation of sex? Excellent point, Shannon. All valid. You do have to get kind of specific. This is where conversations need to take place when it comes to this sort of subject. And somebody later on in the comments actually does bring that up. You gotta be open and transparent about it. You gotta talk. A lot of this stuff I feel like is miscommunication. I also feel that there needs to be separation between the word entitled and I don't know that I can't think of a word for it, but there's having a sense of entitlement, which to me says holier than thou, grandiose than all. Sense of entitlement versus being in a situation where you feel conditions are favorable for XYZ to happen, or in this case, XXX, if you see what I did there. But, and they're two different things in my opinion. So, a sense of entitlement is that guy at the bar who's angrily yelling at the girl, or spits on her or whatever because she won't put out, even though they just met 10 minutes ago. As opposed to, for example, I go on a date with somebody. It is, let's just say Tinder, okay? You go on a date. You know why you're on Tinder. You know why you're on Tinder. To find a date or to hook up. You already know that the two of you are interested in each other. That's why you swiped right. So, if you two have now made it to said date where you are meeting in person, I personally do not think that it is beyond the pale to have in your mind somewhere, hey, some sexual could go down tonight. But if you shoot your shot for the sexual and you don't make that shot, fellas, at that point, you need to back off. You need to back all the way off. Because this whole, being pushy, hey, let me fuck, let me play with you a little bit, huh? Can I holla? Let me holla. There's somebody holla at you. Holla. No, that don't do nothing for nobody but make the good apples in the basket look like shit. Y'all got to go. Y'all have got to chill. Because you're making it so hard on people like myself who actually have upbringing, manners, decency. Next comment. Chelsea says that she agrees with Shannon that you definitely should narrow it down But I can think in any of those cases, boundaries should be set. Yes, they should. It's culturally normal to expect that if I'm going above and beyond the call of a normal friendship, that I'm going to expect some sort of return, whether physical or not, unless boundaries have been set. Have the conversation, people. It's not that hard. It takes 5 minutes if you're an adult. It's really not. AJ, our executive producer, actually chimed in on this and said, Shannon, at first I see exactly where you're coming from with your examples, and to answer the questions without specifics, that all depends on the value that one puts on their things, like their time, money, body, beliefs. If a person feels like their time or money or services are worth y'all's body, then that's how they're going to perceive and approach it. Not saying that it's right or that I agree. However, until a change in that person is sparked, that's what it is for them. Would it be the same for all sexes, all genders, based on my own observations? Person that say yes. Gay, straight, bi, expectations are not gender nor sex specific. I can understand that. Justin says, absolutely, there are men who feel that they're entitled to sex, and there are men who don't. Some men who feel they were put in the friend zone feel that they're being shafted out of a relationship or denied a notch on their belt. I'm gonna stop right there, because back in a day, years ago, I was that guy that would get upset if I got friend zoned. I'm not scared to admit it. I've grown from this, but that's who I was, because the whole notch on the belt is what made me think about it. Because at that point in my life, I was given a false impression that that's what popularity was. Popularity was what I wanted. It was all I craved, needed, and desired. And I was given the impression and felt like the more notches I had on my belt, the more popular and cooler and more socially acceptable I was. So if you denied me the opportunity to put a notch on my belt, I was freaking pissed. I was real pissed off. And then if you gave it to my friend who I felt was less desirable than me for reasons in my own head, or even, and most likely, reasons you have articulated to me. Hey, Peter is a shitty person. He is a narcissist, he's manipulative, and I just don't know what to do about him, Chris. Like, what's your advice? My advice is fucking leave him. Find somebody who's, or I would say, what do you want out of a guy? Oh, I want A, B, C, D, E. Okay, let me check this list. Oh man, I meet A, B, C, D, E, and there's even F, G, H, I, J, K, Q, P, X on here that I meet. So why you ain't leaving? Why you not leaving? See, that's how I used to think. Now I understand that when you're being manipulated, it's hard to let go. Something just happens in your mind, and it's not just as easy as just burn the house down and get out. But that education came with time. Anyway, I don't mean to get off on a whole other tangent. Next, wait, hold on. Let me finish Justin's comment. If the lack of a relationship, be it physical or emotional, causes you to label a friendship differently, then you probably don't need to be there anyways. Amen. Okay. It's church on a Monday, I'm telling you. Logan says that this is a great comment. Logan says, this is a tough topic. I never expected a friend to owe me anything like that. But in a relationship or marriage, I feel there's a certain amount of physicality overall needed to keep the passion in the relationship. I'm not gonna lie, I pout when I'm told no, especially when I'm told no for a week straight. Ooh, this sounds like something that really happened. But I'd rather be told no than for someone to pretend that they want it. Absolutely. I can't agree or disagree with Megan's comment. I don't have guys in my inbox trying to get in my pants. That's something else I will address. I'm not like that, but I'm sure there are plenty of dirty birdies out there trying to see some boobies. Several women put me in the friend zone when I had a crush on them, but I never expected anything out of them. It was always clear that we were just friends, but maybe I analyzed the situation differently than other guys. So, yeah, when you're in a relationship, it is It's part of our culture now that if I'm dating somebody, that we're having sex. Just kind of the norm now. Whether you accept that norm or not is up to you. But that's where conversations need to be had. Logan brought up the fact that there's a lot of guys and girls inboxes. Girls are living in a totally different universe than us men. My inbox dry as shit, whether I'm single or taken. You can pick out your favorite girl that you know and look at her inbox, and there's probably loads of dick pics, thirst fucking shots being thrown in there, and they're probably all on red. And when I sat down and I really thought about, like, God, what it's gonna be like to be a chick with all that happening, it's exhausting. It's exhausting to think about, let alone actually live. So I get it, girls have to filter. They have to establish some sort of filter system in order to just not be overwhelmed with the amount of just dicks that are just, hey, wants dick, want dick, more dick. Hey, just, it's gotta be overwhelming. Let's see. Here's the other thing about that though. Because, like I said, their inbox is flooded with like creepy messages from these dudes. And it, like I said earlier, it makes the good ones look bad. And these girls start lashing out. When a guy who, let's say, genuinely wants clarification as to why they're being turned down. Because the thing is, what I hear a lot is girls say, well, don't ask me why I turned you down. Me saying no should be enough. I don't owe you an explanation. It's our body. Why don't you just fuck off? And I can hear it now. My thing is, explaining it, I think, can help in the education process. There are guys who are legitimately wanting to know. Maybe we just want to be better for next time. And you kind of giving us that feedback assists us to being yet a better person. Logan then said, if a girl turns me down and says she's not interested, I'd like to know why. I'm not having to worry about all this now, but back in the day I did. I want to know my flaws to become a better person for whoever I was meant to be with. I wasn't trying to attack anyone by asking why, but yeah, thirsty dudes that beg and then attack when they get turned down, that's where this becomes an issue. For example, if my wife doesn't want sex, especially if there is a pattern of excuses, I'd like to know what I can do to get back on the right track. Is it me? Is it family? Stress? What can I do? That is called a good husband. That is called a man who communicates. That is a man who understands the purpose and the importance of communication in a relationship, regardless of what type it is. That is a man who gets it. Be like Logan, y'all. Let's see, what else? Megan adds, to be fair, no should be enough in any situation. There's a lot of reasons women will say this, the largest of which is men have become violent after being rejected and no one wants to add fuel to that fire. Again, these are those bad apples who are spoiling it for the bunch. And I wish those bad apples would just die in a fire. Let's see. What else? What else we got? Megan also added to her comment, this whole not all business has to stop. Like, not all men are like this. Not all. Obviously, not all, but enough of the group. It's a problem with enough of the group that it is a legitimate problem. What women want isn't to be told we aren't all like that. We want y'all to fix your homeboys who are like that. There are many broad categorizations about women from men, and instead of saying, well, not all women, I simply correct others on their bad behavior. Remember that racists have been using the not all white people for years. I've been called every name you can think of for turning someone down, and thankfully I've never had anyone get violent with me, but these realities are far more common than you would like to believe. And I absolutely do agree with that. The thing is, I ain't Captain Save-A-Ho out here. If I spot somebody being that guy, yeah, I'll check them on it. But we can't save everybody, man. Like, we can't reach everybody. We don't know everybody. Also, all I can do is be the example. That's what I'm doing in my life. I'm being the change that I wish to see in the world. And so with knowing that to me, that's the best thing that I can give at this point, is to just be that change that I want to see other people embody. AJ says, let me line up first to volunteer to fix the homeboys that are the bad apples. However, they not the ones speaking up. But wait for it. Oh, it gets better. They're not speaking up for themselves. And versus being called out on it, they're being grouped along with every other man by women. So the few good ones can't get to work without the assistance of the victims. Yep. So let's see. Kristen says, statistically speaking, if the number of rape and sexual assault victims are generally female, and it is considered more likely for them to know their attacker, then yes, men must feel entitled to something if they're taking it by force. Solid, undeniable point. This is once again pertaining to men who are predators. I can't say I have too much personal experience on the matter. While I've had boys ask me point blank for sex, guys that I didn't date, never even kissed, I've been offered money for sex by a complete stranger. Damn. And then those boys that expect sex because they provide the alcohol or drugs. Do better. While I'm not completely sure that each of these cases would be considered entitlement, perhaps more expectations, hoping and dreaming more like it in my case, at some point I just wonder, did this tactic work on another female? Right. I have been perplexed for quite some time at guys who use these pickup lines or use these certain tactics to get a girl. And I'm like, what drove you to try that? Where has that ever worked before? I'll give you an example. Woo, girl, damn, you look good. When you gonna let me hit? Not never, and The Rock means ever. In the history of Everdom, has that girl ever turned around after hearing that and been like, ooh, boy, look, I'm so glad you pulled up. Listen, come here, let me holler at you, baby. Check it out. I'm so glad you said something, because I was actually gonna let you hit that tonight. Like, are you free tonight? You know, like you got something going on? Like, I can pull through your house. You know, like what? What time is it? It's like 8:30 now. You know, I can be at your spot like 9:15, 9:30. I'm so glad you brought that up. Like, I really am. I was just waiting on somebody to be like, hey, when are you gonna let me hit? Because I've been waiting to answer that question forever. Who cares if it comes from a guy that I don't even know? Oh my God, yeah. So what that you're probably 25 years older than me and have a whole wife that you just brought to the CGI Fridays? Ah, so swell. You were in the right place at the right time, Hector, and I can't thank you enough. Never, not never has that ever happened. For fuck's sake, man. Okay. While I'm not completely sure that each of those cases would be considered entitlement, perhaps more expectations, hoping and dreaming more like it, at some point, I just wonder, did this tactic work on another female? Did they just figure they would just cover the spread? What's the worst that can happen? They say no? Kaylee says, I don't think men are more privy to the expectation than women. I know plenty of people, male and female, who put their hands in the air because they fucking at night and then came back with a very different story to tell. Oh, that's funny. I think in general there are unjustified expectations of sexual nature in far too many relationships. It's absolutely something that needs to be talked about. A discussion should take place between two parties before sex does. If you're dating and things pop off, well, the discussion was that you're dating. But in the event that you're dating and things don't pop off, you need to drop the attitude, sense of entitlement, and talk to your significant other. A simple question of, why have we been dating for X amount of time and haven't had sex? And people have different standards as to when and why they choose to or not have sex, and you can't possibly know why without talking about it. So, you know, you helped me move. You bought me a shot. I winked at you, grinded my ass when you were at the club. So fucking what? These are all things people do and do to others without any expectation of sex. If doing these things means that you want sex in return, then speak up, because I, for one, will be quick to tell you that it's not what it is, or, that is what it is. Okay. Let's see. I couldn't agree more with that point. Conversation. It all comes back to having a conversation with the person. AJ Lawrence says, to answer your question, yes, I feel as though men should be entitled to sex, especially if in a relationship. When you get married, you stop going on the prowl for it, so why shouldn't it be a part of the deal? Because at the end of the day, if I'm not looking for any pussy because I got married, then I should be able to get it anytime I want it. Call me a sexist pig or whatever you like at the end of the day. Okay. So, remember I was talking about how, there was a comment that said, oh, well, instead of this not all business, Megan said, don't talk about how not all men are like this. Take it upon yourself to educate the people who are. Now is the time that I'm going to do that. AJ, you are wrong. You are absolutely wrong. And it is men like you with that kind of mentality that make it really, 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 really hard for people who don't have that mentality to get anywhere near some pussy. Because now, these girls, they've got their guard up. They've got their walls up. They don't want nothing. We can't even approach them without their other girlfriends circling around them to protect them like a pack of fucking wolves protecting the baby, the young. When all we're just trying to do is say hi. Like, we're not even trying to be creepy like that, but because of shit like that, they come to expect that, because somehow these beautiful women, these incredible women, meet more of you than they do of me. And I cannot fathom how this continues to happen, but it needs to stop. Let's do better. I said what I said, and I said it. Let's see. Ben says, yes, men as a whole feel entitled to sex. I feel entitled to sex right now just for commenting. Well, that's a thing that happened. And, Ben and my executive producer kind of went a little back and forth on this. So he says, AJ, are you trying to say that you don't ever feel entitled to sex? AJ said no. Then he issued a correction. Full disclosure, I have felt entitled to sex. There's a reason I'm reading this. I have felt entitled to sex. Reason being, it was a conversation/offer that was brought to me that was not followed through on from their end. Now, this is when we enter an entirely different realm. Ladies, if you have put out an offer saying, oh, yeah, I definitely want to do this, I'm going to need you to stand by that. I'm going to need you to stand by that. Or, if your mind has changed, let's have a conversation. I don't know the entire details of, AJ's situation, but if there was no conversation had and it was just like a ghosting type of situation or something like that, that one don't sit too well with me. I'm an easy guy to talk to, just talk, That's me. And I said that he is still put on us as men because we expected you to follow through because you said you would. A woman will also typically cite laws about rape, in this case, and how a woman can refuse sex during actual intercourse, and if the man doesn't stop, then it's considered rape. Not saying I have a problem with that, but that's something that women tend to cite in these sort of situations. Amanda says, you gotta earn that shit. You aren't entitled. And you shouldn't just expect to get it because things go well on the first date. That's called jumping the gun and is awfully presumptuous. First impressions do a lot, but I'd personally rather hold off and watch for unsavory red flags before the dive. At least then it won't get complicated by the fact that you had sex with a no-good scumbag because you thought he was the one because you both fell for each other's fronts. Wow. That is worthy of Confucius. That is straight up, no chaser, unapologetic facts. Couldn't have said that better myself. Yeah, but this is something that needs to be talked about because it doesn't get the airplay that I think it deserves. Like, we kind of just like give up on this conversation, but it's definitely something worth talking about. I feel like ultimately my final word on this is it's not necessarily so much a matter of do men feel entitled to sex, because it's not all men. But like I believe Megan said, it's enough to warrant the discussion. It's enough to make it a problem. So it's a matter of just separating. It's wording. Words matter. That's been a motto of my life lately, is words matter. Wording matters. Let's get the wording straight so that we're not mischaracterizing the good apples in with the bad. And that's my thought on it. Comment down below. Let me know. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I smart? Am I dumb? And of course, as always, we are sponsored by Jay Johnson Value Auto Care. Link in that description below. And Drinking Days Custom Homebrew Booze. Link also in the description below. Thank you once again for joining us, Unbounded Warriors. I appreciate you, and we will see you next time.